we have Brother Shakeel Syed, who served as a founding executive director of the Islamic Shura Council of Southern California, and is currently offering his expertise for American Halal Institute. And he's going to be discussing some of the halal advocacy work that has been done in the past and some of the results that have come from it. So Brother Shakeel, the floor is yours.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Ibrahim, and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to everyone.
I see that your video is working now. We're all good?
Yes, it is. It is.
Okay.
Alhamdulillah. I also echo Ammar's sentiment in paying our deepest respects to Sister Nia and people like her on whose shoulders we stand in building the Muslim infrastructure in the United States. With that said, my brief talk is going to present or share with you a case study, so to speak, which is very recent. Over the last year or so, we all have been subjected by this challenge of pandemic. And the USDA, Department of Agriculture, who oversees food security of people living in the United States, reached out to community-based organizations, faith-based organizations, human relief agencies, and so on, using their networks to distribute food to people across the country. As a consequence, many masajid, many Muslim relief agencies received truckloads and pallets of food boxes to be distributed to the community at large. And as this program grew, the community members began to benefit from it, and some were concerned. One of the primary and major concerns for many, many people that trickled down in the community over the course of time is that some of the food packages included non-halal or haram products, ingredients in the food. So they began asking the Muslim leadership in their respective localities, what do we do? Do we use them? Do we throw them? Do we give it to somebody else? And so on. And when these questions were raised, I think sufficiently, it reached to us, and AHI took it upon itself that, look, this could not be an intentional act on behalf of the USDA to be doing so, but it is just simply they don't know. And we took the initiative and reached out to USDA, assuming that maybe they will respond, maybe they will not. I mean, it's a huge government agency which oversees many different aspects. And this may just fall through the cracks, so to speak. So earlier this year, in January, February timeframe, we wrote to USDA echoing the sentiment that was already raised by one of the senators from New York, Kristen Gillibrand, who expressed her concern about the insensitivity for particular ethnic communities, such as Muslims, such as Jewish community, such as Hindus, who many of whom don't eat meat at all, is not being addressed duly by the USDA. And we wrote this memo in February, and we started contacting various masajid and community organizations to also see that if and whether or not they too have encountered this. And sure enough, more than many masajid and relief agencies confirmed that yes, the emergency food packages that are being provided by the USDA are not, quote unquote, in compliance with our religious needs. And not just us, but also our cousins in the Jewish community whose dietary laws and regulations are very similar to ours. So we wrote this memo to USDA, and we were pleasantly surprised that in less than a month, the secretary of USDA responded to us. And I think it is best if I show this memo to all of you. Let me see if I can share the screen here. Just to echo the same conversation that was addressed by previous speakers, as all it takes is simply taking the initiative at our level, at our individual level. As Brother Ammar had mentioned, that parents asking the school for halal meals for their children, they most likely will not be able to, but they will ramp it up to their school district office, who will take it to the county, who will take it to the state, and so on. Here's a memo that we received back from USDA, and I'm elated by the answer. What did the answer say? It says that throughout the development and launch of this federal emergency food program, USDA has requested that contractors work with local suppliers to customize the contents of the box to meet unique cultural needs. And then they say their program is currently under review to determine changes that can be incorporated to improve the program going forward. As part of this process, USDA says that we are taking feedback from our stakeholders, that is you and I essentially, right? And they will certainly take into consideration the unique needs of the Jewish and the Muslim communities. So this tells us that it is not really that difficult to initiate a conversation with the agencies whom we interact at the county level, at the state level, and at the federal level. Organizations like American Halal Institute can play a role definitely at the state and the federal level, which we are doing. But we, the Muslim collective, can do the same at our personal, at our local municipality level, which then trickles up. And as the saying goes, it takes a village. All of us, activists, advocates, faith leaders, community leaders, parents, young folks, need to be doing this. And American Halal Institute is deeply committed to really accelerate this conversation in making the idea of halal as a healthy choice, not just for Muslims, but for all people, because of what all it takes to produce halal products and food. It is extremely important for those of my brothers and sisters who are really watching this program, those who have children. I would highly, highly encourage you to begin this conversation, not in terms of complaining, not in terms of protesting, but rather simply asking, in the context of educating those who we interact with in our schools, in our colleges, in our universities, for halal food. And when you have those conversations, we would love to hear back from you as to what your conversation was like, what was the response. And those of us who are situated in this position to really begin the advocacy at the federal level, and which then, inshallah, will trickle down to the state and the county level and the city level also, right? So it will take some time for us, 10, 15, 20 years maybe. There are halal certifying agencies, a handful few in the country. Overwhelming majority of the mainstream markets, mainstream stores, they say that they have halal food, or none of us ask, where did you certify? Who certifies it? Where do you store your products, and so on and so forth. So even the halal certifying agency are not at a capacity where after issuing certification for halal, they may not necessarily have the wherewithal and the capacity to continue to audit and make sure that their certification is in place. So there's a whole lot of advocacy work that needs to be done, and it will require all of us, frankly, to participate to the best that we possibly can, inshallah. So I'm deeply grateful to those communities throughout the country who alerted us and flagged us that the federal food program is not, quote unquote, fully halal compliant. And then we were able to then have this conversation with USDA. And now we are engaged with USDA to ensure post-COVID, any such program that will go out, which essentially is going to schools and prisons and all in public sector, we will continue to liaise and coordinate with the USDA, inshallah, and we will keep you all abreast and posted of the progress or lack thereof. But in the meantime, do please have these conversations in your respective cities with folks you interact with in the public sector particularly, because all of that matters, and it will help agencies like us to really advance this conversation about providing halal food to our fellow Muslims and also to the society at large as a healthy choice. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you so much for that great presentation, Brother Shakeel. It's really reassuring to know that we do see results from the advocative efforts that are being done, and it's not just for nothing. It gives us confidence to continue the fight on our end. And I would also just like to echo that sentiment of that you all in your communities should be should be talking to your representatives, should be reaching out, should be asking for halal accessibility, because it gives us our confidence and our support to go and continue and talk to these different federal agencies and these governmental agencies, and it gives us that it shows them that the evidence that the Muslim community actually does want and actually does need and demand that halal become accessible for all. So thank you very much for that, Brother Shakeel.